How's it going, folks? Recording another Best Ball Mania 3 here. And did 2 this week because I'm going on vacation, so I will not be around on Sunday or Monday to record one next week, though I will probably record one next Tuesday. So, it's looking like we are pick 111. I think somebody I need to start getting ownership on down here is Dalvin Cook. I was a little hesitant at the beginning of the year to grab him because I thought there was a chance he could be suspended this year, but it really is starting to sound like that's not on the table. So another thing is I've eclipsed 20% Alex Madison because I love Madison so much as a pick. And I don't really want to be rocking that much Madison with absolutely no Dalvin Cook. It seems like a recipe for disaster. So I kind of want to pull Cook up in ownership to around 8%. I definitely don't want to be over the field, but I'm fine with being at the field. I also have some people I need to start fading at the end of round 1 because I'm just getting too much ownership on them. So I'm going to look to maybe be in on some Dalvin Cook. Saw some videos of Derrick Henry working out. He's just looks like a beast still. Still pretty much only going to take Derrick Henry on underdog. I'm not going to really draft him at all in DraftKings. Mostly been getting in Millie Maker drafts on DraftKings this month. Going to do some Best Ball Manias as well because I want to start to fill in my drafts because I'm only going to have so much time in August. So down at the 111, I'll kind of keep my eyes on the usual suspects, which for me are Diggs, Adams, and Kelsey, as well as Dalvin Cook, maybe Henry, Eckler, or Najee if they fall. Derrick Henry at the 106. I'm getting a little bit more open to Derrick Henry at the 106. It's been my Najee spot. I can't really take Diggs there because I'm just getting too much Diggs, unfortunately. Right now, I'm still above my threshold for how much I would like to own any round 1 through 3 player on Diggs. So, do lose Dalvin Cook at the 108, which kind of sucks. It is funny that it feels like anytime you're okay, so I'm going to start getting ownership on player so and so, that it immediately becomes very difficult to get ownership on whoever that player was. I have so many drafts that I've started Devontae Adams and Debo. Really not a fan of what's going on here. I have so much Kelsey. Kelsey's another one I'm overweight on. I have more than I would like to have as my highest percentage I would like to own. So I was debating on taking Najee or CeeDee Lamb there. Might start with 2 running backs here. That would be definitely a rare one for me. Basically, I was kind of deciding if I thought it was more likely that Lamb or Harris made it back to us, and I thought it was more likely that Lamb did. So that was why I picked Harris, and it did in fact work out that way. So that's nice. So I think our pick at 111 paid off there. I was highly debating between Lamb and Harris. I think Kelsey is actually the best pick there, but I have more than 15% Kelsey. 15% is about the most I want to own any player in round 1 through 3. There are definitely some players I have more than 15% of right now. It's still June, so it's not something to terribly worry yourself over this early. But I like to keep an eye on it because I don't want to limit myself later on to drafting those guys. I think Lamb's somebody I might be a little underweight on. Probably not. I'm probably at least around 8%. Because I'm sure I'm under on Dalvin Cook, I haven't taken at all in this contest. Derrick Henry, I've taken like once or twice. Eckler, I've taken once, I think. Najee, I've taken quite a bit of. So another player I kind of wanted to get into a little bit in this video is Ronald Jones. So especially on this half PPR uh, platform on Underdog, I think he's just like way underpriced. So Ronald Jones is like only 24, going to be 25, I believe, when the season starts. Right? He's had 2 seasons of 1,000 total yards, and he's replacing Darrell Williams in Kansas City as like part of what will be, I believe, a timeshare backfield. And last year Darrell Williams had the third most carries inside the 5 in the NFL. So with how cheap Ronald Jones is, that makes him like super attractive to me. Like he's going in the plus handcuff area with Rashad White and Isaiah Spiller and guys like that, who I like really, really like. But like, I think Ronald Jones is somewhat similar upside. Maybe those guys have like a little bit more of like a max ceiling, but like his path to being good without like anyone else getting injured, like I think he's just way above those guys. Now, this is Best Ball Mania Draft where we do care quite a bit about the absolute ceilings. So I mean, I'm mixing in Rojo and White and Spiller. I'm like kind of mixing all of them in, but I do think that there's people that are just like not drafting Rojo in that range at all, and I think that you should be. The one spot I went with the 3 RBs in Taylor, Kamara, and Fournette. 2 spot took Pittman that high. Interesting. Love Kyle Pitts early in round 3. Wish I could get Kyle Pitts late round 3 in this draft, but that's not happening for us. As far as stack options, obviously the only thing we really have going on is Dak a little bit later. Dak's kind of falling, so that's good. One thing I might think of, because I have CD Lamb, is maybe not grabbing an elite tight end on this build and going for Dalton Schultz and Dak. I think as far as running backs go, the only people really that interest me are the guys down here, ETN, Akers, and Brees Hall. I'm not super interested in James Conner, but I have taken some James Conner, and it's usually been around the 3-4 turn when he falls there. I like Waddle and I like Hollywood quite a bit. It's interesting going back from one site to the other because the ADPs actually are quite different on a lot of players. I think between Waddle and Hollywood, I actually prefer Hollywood slightly, which might seem a little crazy, but it's because I like really dislike Waddle's Week 17 game, and I really like Hollywood's Week 17 game. I also like being open to Kyler Murray a lot of the time because of that game. Which one do I think has a better chance of getting back to us? I don't know. I'm just going to take Hollywood. I think that those two are pretty close. I have a ton of ownership on both of them because for me, there is like a big tier gap. Well, not a big tier gap, but a tier gap down to the next group of wide receivers. I think with our next pick, we could consider wide receiver or running back. Probably not going to take Zeke because I don't really want to have Zeke in a Dak stack. Or I don't even really like having Zeke and CeeDee Lamb all that much, just because like how much capital you have to use around 2 and 4. So I'm definitely not going to take Zeke. All right, I'll just take Waddle. So that kind of worked out for us again that time, that we might have picked the guy that was going to go at the turn if we hadn't picked them. So it looks like we've kind of threaded the needle on both times deciding which guy we were going to take first, and ended up getting both as far as Najee Lamb and Hollywood and Waddle. I do like Waddle quite a bit more than I like Sutton and Metcalf. I'm fine taking Sutton or Judy over Waddle if I have, Kelsey or Kelsey Mahomes or something like that going on. This guy had Kelsey Mahomes going on, right? Yeah. He had Kelsey Mahomes going on, so I definitely like him picking Cortland Sutton there. I will say that, like, even with what's going on with Judy having like a mild injury and is off the field little incident, I just think his ceiling is just a lot better than Cortland Sutton's. So I've preferred Judy to Sutton myself. But like, I'm trying to make sure I don't only have, Judy with the Chiefs guys. So I am sometimes taking Sutton over Judy and sometimes taking Judy over Sutton. It was nice for a little while there when Judy had the legal whatever he had go on there, because he started to fall, and then you could actually get him with Mahomes and Kelsey late around after what you were paying for Sutton. But now they've creeped back close together. So that kind of sucks. I wonder what Schultz's ADP is like on this site. It's still quite a bit of the ways down there. We also have 15 picks until our next pick. So if we want Schultz, we might have to pick him within our next 2 picks. I'm not 100% sure that I'm like locked into taking him, so we could probably wait on Dak until the next go around if we were to take Schultz. DK Metcalf is another guy I love at ADP. I would much rather have DK Metcalf than Terry McLaurin with what's going on in Washington right now, with his situation with his contract and whatever. And just I just don't trust Washington at all. I trust Washington even less than Seattle, as crazy as that sounds. Chris Godwin, I was watching a live stream today of people doing best ball drafts, and they were saying how they had heard that Godwin was targeting Thanksgiving return. So I have no idea if there's truth to that or not, but that's what I heard today on a stream. And if that's the case, then I'm not touching Chris Godwin in round 4 or 5. That would be he should be going around where Hopkins is going, probably later than Hopkins, if there's truth to that. I have not been able to find out if there is actually truth to that just yet, but definitely scary. I was going to say we have Najee, so we could kind of go for Lamar Bateman if Lamar and Bateman had lasted to us, but Bateman went pretty early in this draft, much higher than he usually does. Kind of hoping George Kittle gets picked before me, because that would be kind of hard to resist that kind of value. Could just lock ourselves into Kyler and then not really mess with Dalton Schultz. Don't particularly love Dak this year. And Dak stacks. I think Dallas is going to play extremely slowly. Going to try to run and play defense. I'm still A-okay with CeeDee Lamb because I think he's going to get such a ridiculous target share. But overall, the offense, stacking that offense doesn't really excite me like it did last year. So I might go with Kyler and then just kind of not worry about Dalton Schultz and Dak, but we'll see. Kyler could definitely even go off the board before we pick, or there could be some pick there that I like so much I don't want to take Kyler right away. Right now, Kittle, Gabriel Davis, David Montgomery, Kyler, kind of the guys I'm looking at. If I were to take Kyler, I'd kind of want to hope to grab Drake London after the turn as part of the Week 17 game stack. And maybe grab up Zach Ertz later on. Or if we end up in a 3 tight end build and miss Zach Ertz, I don't mind taking Trey McBride in a 3 tight end build. Lamar finally goes. I wonder if that was the guy who had Andrews. Was not. Just unstacked Lamar. If you're going to unstack somebody, Lamar is definitely one of the nicer quarterbacks to have that with. If Kittle makes it to us, we could definitely send Kittle to the... Wow, everyone around us has a tight end already. It's super awkward for them. Huh. I highly doubt this person takes Kittle or Kyler. I think that they're a little more likely to take Kittle, so let's take him. I feel like there was more of a chance that that guy could like get froggy and be like, man, I'm taking 2 of this onesie position because Kittle is so far past ADP that it's sickening. So that's why I took Kittle there. Now we'll take Kyler, I think. Other option is to take Gibson. Really don't like that at all. Just take Kyler. I do like the fact that Trey Lance kind of like doesn't go so early that you can't have Trey Lance as your QB2. I'm not saying we'll do that with Kyler, but it is an option. I really don't like spending a lot of capital on a second quarterback once I take an elite one, but this might be a rare case where we do it because we did get Kittle so late. But I don't know. We'll see how things go. Antonio Gibson just doesn't excite me at all this year. Like, say that I didn't have Hollywood and wasn't interested in Kyler. I think I would have given a pretty strong consideration to Gibson there, but getting Kittle as late as we did was very, very nice. So I don't think we're probably not going to use the capital on Zach Ertz. Like, I would almost rather have Lance and Kyler than Zach Ertz and Kittle. So we might just only go with the one stack piece for Kyler and Hollywood. I'm open to taking Rondell Moore, but he doesn't really do much for me. We also could end up with Hopkins at some point, like if he were to fall crazily past ADP. But I would assume he goes before we pick again. That was pretty nice value on George Kittle. It's a pretty sweet looking team. I was a little worried if I let Kittle go to the turn that the Kelsey guy might get some like weird idea. Thought it was way less likely that he'd want to go with Kyler with Mahomes. I think the downside if we were to have missed Kyler was a little bit less as well, just because like this is like a rare chance to get Kittle this late. So we certainly were going to take Schultz over Kittle. Not that Schultz can't finish higher, but when you're trying to win these sort of contests, I think like week wise, George Kittle has like equal ceiling to any tight end, whereas I wouldn't say that about Dalton Schultz. So if you're talking about just like 1 week, Dalton Schultz or George Kittle, who do you think can have the higher ceiling? I think it's pretty easily George Kittle. We've seen him have some absolutely bonkers games. But like over the course of the season, I wouldn't be that shocked if like Schultz were to outscore him. Feeling pretty decent about this team. Got our hero running back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is kind of dead to me again. I know it sounds crazy to say because of like a signing like Jerick McKinnon, but Jerick McKinnon's going to friggin' run in the 2-minute drill. We've just seen it the last couple years, so like the only thing left to make me want Clyde Edwards-Helaire was that it was looking like he would get all of the passing down work, and now it doesn't look like he's going to get all the passing down work. So I just don't really want Clyde Edwards-Helaire that much. I'll probably still take him on DraftKings some because I do think he still gets a bonus from full PPR, but his cost on DraftKings is also like round 6. So I don't know. I might just be back to complete fading Clyde. I had been kind of taking a decent amount of him on DraftKings before the McKinnon signing, but don't like it at all now. Could look at Ayuk to go with Kittle if he's still there when we pick. Miles Sanders was a guy I kind of had my eye on. He's like really starting to scoot up there in these drafts. Elijah Mitchell's whatever. I'd rather not have Elijah Mitchell if I'm going to go for some sort of San Francisco stack. Much rather have like Ayuk. I would probably have to take Lance as one of my 2 picks if I'm going to do that. So I think the only way I'll end up taking Lance is if Ayuk makes it back to us and he didn't. Guess I could go for some like Danny Gray shenanigans with Kittle, but not being able to get Ayuk kind of sours me on that. I would still be open to taking Hopkins if he's there when we pick. Definitely don't have to, but I don't hate it. We're gonna have a tough time getting anything Atlanta coming back with this Arizona group because of the way the draft fell with Kittle being there. We took him normally where I would take Drake London, and I'm fine with that. I have tons and tons of Drake London with Arizona guys, but like, who's there left? Tyler Algier. Thankfully, someone takes Hopkins, so I can't go down that road. Still got Dak as an option. We could do the Dak Pollard thing. That's interesting to me. Because like when Dak does hit his pure ceiling, it's usually going to be because Zeke got hurt, and then Dallas has to throw extra, which also makes Tony Pollard better. So I could do the Dak Tony Pollard thing. I could just take some wide receivers. Could take old ass Adam Thielen. It's probably going to catch a bunch of touchdowns. Let's take Tony Pollard. See what wide receivers make it back to us, and then decide if I want to take Dak or not. Could just smash like Kenny Walker. There's like other running backs I don't mind later. We'd be pretty light on wide receivers doing this way. I'm just going to take Treylon Burks. Like, he's a week 17 game stack with CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard anyway. So I'll get that correlation, 10 picks after ADP instead of taking Dak. I think that worked out fine. I really didn't know what I wanted to do and was running out of time, and I knew I really wanted Tony Pollard. So I was just like, I'll just take Tony Pollard and figure it out after the turn picks go. I think because Burks correlated with Pollard and Lamb, and he happened to be the one that was left over, that's what really took me off of grabbing Dak there. Like I said, I don't really like using that much capital on quarterbacks when I take Kyler. Could leave ourselves open to some sort of Ryan Tannehill and then like 2 late tight ends to go with Kittle. I kind of don't mind 2 later tight ends with Kittle. sometimes I end up with like often because of how much I like him, I end up with Noah Fant. So a lot of times I'll just stop at two tight ends, but like I don't hate two late tight ends with Kittle because Kittle kind of tends to miss some games in the year, but not like with major injuries. He's one of those guys that misses like 3 games or whatever. So having two later tight ends to just kind of ping pong, hope that they get some touchdowns different weeks, I really don't hate. I love like the massive upside of Pollard and the fact that it ended up working out with us getting Burks and kind of having a little mini game stack there. So I don't think we're going to end up with any Falcons. We could end up with Tyler Algier, but he does not excite me at all. We could obviously take like Brian Edwards in the last round or something like that, but Olamide Zacchaeus, none of those guys really excite me. I really want like Pitts or London as my game stack pieces when I have the Arizona guys. It's getting really hard to get Pitts and Hollywood together. I have done it a couple times recently on DraftKings, but I don't remember the last time I did it on Underdog. In the puppy, I did it once where I pulled them up to the 2-3 turn to make it happen because I knew that contest was going to close and that opportunity would be like gone, so almost nobody would have Hollywood and Pitts together. But in this contest, I already have a bunch of Hollywood and Pitts together, and I assume tons of people do too, from when they were easy to stack together when the Best Ball Mania 3 first started. So if some sort of news were to come out where one of them would causing one of them to drop, minor injury or something like that going on, uh, then it might be easy to get them together again, or ADPs could just shift in a way where it becomes easy to get them together again. So I don't want to like force them right now in Best Ball Mania 3. I definitely was also not wanting to like not have 4 wide receivers at that time, the time I took Burke. So I think I definitely pretty thrilled with the way that worked out. Admittedly, at the time that I was making the Pollard pick, wasn't thinking about Burks as like a game stack comeback. Then after I had picked Pollard and the guy on the turn was making his 2 picks, I was like, ooh, hope he doesn't take Burks. So, is there any opportunity to get Las Vegas guys to kind of be involved with Kittle? Probably not really. All the Vegas guys that are good are already gone. Maybe like a Zamir White in the very last round is an RB6. When you draft Tony Pollard as your RB2, I strongly recommend going with a 6 running back build. You need the injury to come extremely early to Zeke for Pollard to like max out. At least Pollard does have like weekly value, right? Especially since he might be catching more passes this year anyway, just to help their receiving core out. But usually, if Pollard's my running back 2, I'm kind of shooting for 6 running backs. Kind of like Devin Singletary, Chase Edmonds. Could start to build up like a little bit of a Miami game stack. That game is just so hideous. Like in New England, week 17. Like if we don't get Damian Harris, then to that game. Derek Carter's still on the board. I'm interested to see who goes off in these next few picks. Garrett Wilson is my favorite wide receiver on the board by 100,000 miles. Zach Ertz did not follow back to us. Harris goes off. That kind of sucks. Just gonna take Garrett Wilson. None of these running backs like enthuse me, so I'll probably take one, but I'll just pick one after. the turn person. I'm not going to take Toronto more. Could take Stevenson here. That's kind of like a game stack comeback with Jalen Waddle. Could just take Devin Singletary, which I don't mind. Could take Chase Edmonds and kind of have the two Miami pieces built up for that game, and then maybe grab some New England guys. I think I'm just going to take Devin Singletary. I think he has like the most early season value of what's on the board. With me taking Tony Pollard as my running back too, I kind of want to push myself towards the early season value. Melvin Gordon's a great pick, higher upside than Devin Singletary in my opinion, so that's nice for the guy behind us. Didn't really want to have 3 week 9 running backs to start off that. We could have taken Penny as well as part of like mini game stack with Garrett Wilson. I think that would have been fine. So maybe Penny would have been a slightly better pick for us than Devin Singletary. Looking back on it, the nice thing about getting Garrett Wilson is now I have a reason to take Noah Fant later. Oh darn! I didn't stack with with Rashad Penny, an excuse to take Noah Fant, who I have 36% of right now. It's probably my favorite pick in all of best ball for the moment. Kind of hoping like Isaiah Spiller makes it to our next pick or Michael Carter. One of those 2 running backs would be nice. So for game stack stuff, we'll keep in mind Noah Fant, like any Patriot guy. I don't really like any of the Patriots guys, but Tennessee, we already got a little bit of. We could make like kind of a Tennessee game stack. Go with like Hooper and Tannehill. Stack the Tennessee side of that Dallas game, and then have CeeDee Lamb and Pollard as kind of our comebacks. Like the way that game shoots out, the most likely outcome where that game shoots out to is like if Zeke is hurt and Dallas is running an offense with no Zeke and with Pollard at running back. So I don't hate building that game stack in with Hooper and Tannehill. Tannehill's like super easy to get. He's someone to have like almost none of. Of course, I might end up taking somebody else before then. Ronald Jones is still available too. He's obviously one I would love to get. Running back, Ronald Jones, Isaiah Spiller. I'd like to get Stevenson or Chase Edmonds, but I doubt that happens. Pierce doesn't excite me that much. I just don't see the ceiling. But if like all these guys are gone, he's someone I would consider. Like much prefer like Michael Carter even to Dameon Pierce and Spiller to Dameon Pierce. Naheem Hines for me, this is like way too high in half PPR. No, thank you. But I am interested on DraftKings. This price seems just wild to me as far as Naheem Hines goes, because like I don't even think he gets much different work if Jonathan Taylor is hurt. I think he gets like 5 more carries a game, which would make it better, but still not like, woo, we're smashing. Could take Parker or Myers as a bring back for Jalen Waddle with one of our next 2 picks. Obviously, I'd love Stevenson, but I don't see how that happens. Could build in a Tua stack, going with like Tua and Mike Gesicki with our 2 picks. Because we do have Waddle. I kind of would like to get a running back in this like upcoming tier. So I think I'm going to not do the Tua Gesicki thing. I also think Mike Gesicki is one of the most horrific picks in all of baseball. He is the opposite of Noah Fant for me. I don't want any Mike Gesicki. I think his price is outrageous. With Tyreek Hill there and Jalen Waddle, I don't see any room for him. He was already a guy that was like goosing you steady. He is a guy who has like big upside game potential, which he hits them every once in a great while. But I think that upside might be kind of fake now with how much the situation has changed. So I'm really hoping for like Rojo or Spiller, with then Michael Carter kind of being the next one. Could end up with like Michael Carter, Garrett Wilson, and Zach Wilson. And then maybe get Fant for the comeback for that game. As far as wide receivers, I like Galladay quite a bit. I think Jameson Williams might be a little too slow to start the year. I don't hate Jameson Williams. I like Jacoby Myers. I like John Dotson. If Rondell would have been there for our like next pick, I might have considered him this late. I don't really, not sad to see Rondell go off the board at all. Probably just going to take Rojo or Spiller here. Ooh, Damian Pierce goes. So, like, here maybe we do take Galladay then. I don't really have that much of a difference between. Okay, I'm going to take Rojo. Like, I don't really care that much between, like, Galladay, Jacoby Myers, and Dotson, so. Spiller goes. So if we wanted to pick a running back, I think it would be Michael Carter. Let's say Galladay. Perhaps I should have taken Jacoby Myers there to go with Waddle. I just think Kenny Galladay's upside is much, much better and has 14 picks after ADP. So I really don't think you want to give up like when you have crazy value drops and you're kind of like creating a lineup that may not be available to you over like a minor week 17 correlation in a game you don't love. It's like pretty close between the two, to be honest. I think Jacoby Myers would have been fine too as well there. But we decided to go with Galladay. There's definitely reasons and arguments, I think, for both. So if you have a strong feeling that I should have taken Myers, I probably wouldn't really argue with you that much. I think Dotson's theme from McLaurin not being at camp is a little unfounded. Like, I don't see the reason for it. I like Dotson. He's my highest owned guy, wide receiver in the best ball Superflex. And I think he's in my top 5 in this right now, plus the regular big board and the big board Superflex. So he's number 1 in the big board Superflex, and he's top 5 in the other 2. But I'm not paying up for Dotson now because of this McLaurin thing, because like you can't hold that anymore. McLaurin's not there now, but he's gonna like have to be there in August or traded. If he does get traded, then that's a boost for Dotson. But I just think that that's kind of a lot to assume right now that he will be traded. So I don't know. We could do Hunter Henry as kind of our bring back to Waddle if he's there when we pick again. Don't know if he will be. That probably closes out the New England guys I'm interested in. I do take Tyquan Thornton sometimes, but I'm really not taking him when I'm not taking Mac Jones. It's kind of like a Mac Jones only thing. Of course, we could end up with Mac Jones in this draft, so if we were to take Hunter Henry, it's possible. I guess I need to start thinking about like what I'm gonna do at QB2. Could just be the huge. I guess we could take Daniel Jones, so we've Galladay, but I usually end up on Zach Wilson because I have so much Garrett Wilson, and also because I love the Jets playoff schedule. It's like Lions, Jaguars, and Seattle. Kind of hoping Tyler Algier goes before we pick, so I'm not tempted to pick him as part of the game stack for Arizona. Please, someone take Tyler Algier. I don't even hate Tyler Algier. I've got like a billion shares of him, but I have a billion shares of him from back when he was around 20 in those early contests. I don't want to pay for him in around 12 or 13 these days. Not that I never do it. I have done it, but it's usually in this situation where I've missed the other Atlanta guys and I'm grasping for some week 17 correlation, but I won't cry if someone else takes him. Tua's still on the board, so we could still pair Tua with Jalen Waddle if like somehow Tua makes it all the way back to us. I would smash that, but I would suspect that that's not available when we pick. The Jets today made some sort of comment that they were going to play Braxton Berrios in the slot. So maybe I need to get some Braxton Berrios with Zach Wilson and Garrett Wilson, because Braxton Berrios is a guy I've like not been drafting at all. Like maybe they trade Corey Davis and go with Braxton Berrios and Garrett Wilson. Tua goes off. So I think if we want Zach Wilson, I'm probably going to have to pick him with one of our next two picks, which doesn't excite me. I think with us having Pollard and Lamb, I'm a little bit more leaning towards wanting to try to do this Tannehill thing with at least Burks and maybe also Hooper. Might end up with 3 tight ends if I'm going to do that. Could end up with like Kittle, Henry, and Hooper. I think if I get a second tight end as good as Henry or Fant, then I'm probably only going to take 2 tight ends. God, please someone take Tyler Algier. Please. Hunter Henry goes. Kuabunam and Njoku are both have the same bye week as Kittle. Not that I care that much, but I don't know. I kind of want to do this Tannehill Hooper thing with Lamb and Pollard, so might not even need Hooper for it. Maybe just Tannehill and Burks is enough. Oh no. I've got one more hero. Come on. Come on, guffledgmail.com. Don't let me down, buddy. Please? No! All right. I guess I'll take Tyler Algier to be part of a game stack with the Arizona boys. We don't really need to take another running back with this build. Like, we have enough, but I'll consider taking another one. But it would probably have to be me considering taking them in the last round. Corey Davis, DJ Chark. I'm definitely not going to take Fant this round, so I'm going to take Alec Pierce here. He has a week 17 correlation with Kenny Galladay, so he's just like a player I like anyway. So I think we only need one more wide receiver. I kind of prefer 8 to 7 in this type of tournament. 9 is obviously like spectacular if you can afford to do it. I think with this build we could maybe, but I don't know. I might rather have another running back dart over the 9th. Still think 3 tight ends is like definitely on the table. It's kind of people I've like to star up. I know in my draft, or like in some of these videos, I've talked about binary thinking. I think George Kittle is like one of those guys where I think people think of him like only in 2 outcomes of being healthy, amazing, and complete elite tight end, or being like hurt and useless. And he's definitely a player that's shown over the years that like he has a ton of gray area. So I really do like getting a strong tight end too when you have him, or going with 3 tight ends with too late. If we were to go with 3 tight ends and too late, we could go something like Hooper and Trey McBride. Probably get them in like close to the last 2 rounds or something like that. I wouldn't hate that. I think we should maybe. Noah Fant is pretty high up on the ADP list, so I doubt we get him. I kind of slightly would rather have Tannehill than Zach Wilson in this build, particularly if we don't get Noah Fant. Then we're like not creating a game stack for that game anyway. And I also have like 20% Zach Wilson and 2% Ryan Tannehill. So if I am going to take a Tannehill, like Tannehill has to be a better pick still than like Matt Ryan, right? Tannehill's still going to have like 6 rushing touchdowns or whatever, less than 6, but some amount of rushing touchdowns, 3 or 4, maybe up to 6. That feels like kind of the high end. Matt Ryan on the board still. We do have Alec Pierce, and there's options of some other players. As far as wide receivers go, it seems like David Bell and John Mechie are kind of like my favorite ones. Matt Ryan went. If we go the Fant route, then for me, I only need to take 2 tight ends, which would get us off Hooper and McBride plan. So I'm either going to go one of those 2 routes at tight end. We might not end up with Hooper and McBride if we don't take Fant. So right now, I'm leaning towards taking Fant and Tannehill as my 2 picks, and only having Tannehill Burks, which I think is fine, but still being a part of that game stack. Now, Fant could very well go with this pick. David Bell is the wide receiver on the board I like if I am forced to take a wide receiver, which I would be perfectly fine with. All right, let's take Fant then. I think I prefer this to the 3 wide receiver or the 3 tight end thing. We could also take Zach Wilson if for some reason this person takes Tannehill. Now, I still kind of slightly prefer Tannehill to Zach Wilson just because of having Lamb and Pollard. So we do at least now have Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson, and Fant if we go with Zach Wilson. If we take Zach Wilson, we could also take Braxton Berrios in the last round. I just think because of the capital I've used on Pollard and Fant, I would rather do something with Tennessee Dallas this time. Especially like I also said, it's not like I'm going to have a billion opportunities to take Zach Wilson because I will. Zach Wilson is my most owned quarterback, I think. Him and Trevor Lawrence have been kind of battling it out. So looks like we could definitely end up with another running back on this build if we want, and end up with like 2-6-8-2. It's kind of close between a wide receiver or a running back. I think we're gonna shut off those positions. So we're gonna be done at tight end with Fant and Kittle, and done at quarterback with Kyler and Tannehill. So for game stacks, we ended up with like Kyler and Hollywood bringing back Algier. I think we had the chance to make a couple minor changes that would have led us to other correlations. Like we could have taken Jacoby Myers instead of Galladay and had Myers Waddle, but I actually prefer Galladay Pierce to if we had done that. We've got Garrett Wilson and Fant. We really have no Raider to go with Kittle, but that's like fine. We end up with like no Patriot to go with Waddle, but not that big a deal. No Ravens really for Najee. No Broncos for Ronald Jones. I probably won't go with like Duvernay to create something with Najee. I actually prefer Tylan Wallace to Duvernay. Tylan Wallace like actually played on the outside in college. Duvernay did not. And I think that they're going to be more looking for an outside wide receiver, which I think Tylan Wallace fits better. Now, I still think that like there's a strong likelihood that someone not on that team ends up there. Ooh, excuse me. No Sony Michelle on this one. Donta Foreman is kind of looking like it's getting pretty ugly at running back. I'm not gonna lie. One guy I low key don't mind is Rex Burkhead. Like, seems like he's sort of the and Marlon Mack, I guess, is there now, right? Yeah. Seems like Rex Burkhead though has a higher ceilings than Marlon Mack because if he can catch a bunch of passes, and Marlon Mack doesn't seem to really do that. But maybe Marlon Mack is the better of those two. As far as these like later running back handcuffs, I wouldn't have minded taking a shot on Zamir White, but it looks like he's gone. Don't really have interest in Jerick McKinnon. Could end up going the 9 wide receiver route, I guess, if there's really no running backs that we're interested in. Like, I don't want to take Haskins when I have Tannehill and Garrett and Treylon Burks. I guess there's some argument that the max Tannehill ceiling comes from when Derrick Henry is out and he's forced to pass the most, at which point Haskins is also getting a little bit of a boost. I could tell myself that story. Donta Foreman ended up going off. I have no idea if Hassan Haskins can catch any passes. I'm certain he barely did it at all in college, but that doesn't mean he can't do it. Ooh, there's Dontrell Hilliard. It's possible he fits better with a stack of Tannehill. I haven't taken a single share of Marlon Mack, so I wouldn't be disgusted by that in any way. Could just take Brian Edwards here. Goes with our Arizona guys for week 17, so I don't know. Don't feel great about that pick. Don't super think we need to take another running back. Like, all these guys have early season likelihood of use. So if Tony Pollard hits and smashes, then we should be okay at running back here. Could go down and pick up Tylan Wallace, so they kind of either come back for Najee. It's kind of between Tylan Wallace, Marlon Mack, Hassan Haskins. There's Duvernay. I really don't like Duvernay that much. Let's do this. I have taken Duvernay a little bit, but I think it's only my second time I've taken Tylan Wallace. So the end of this receiving group is kind of a hope and a prayer, that's for sure. But we ended up with 9 wide receivers after all that, which I certainly wouldn't have guessed about halfway through that draft. But we just ended up with like more running backs that had early season, scoring ability than I expected us to when our running back 2 was Tony Pollard. So I forget who I took Devin Singletary over. It was somebody good that didn't have early season. Oh, no, it was Rashad Penny. Yeah, I guess I wish this pick was Penny, but whatever. So we ended up with like Kyler and Tannehill, so we got an elite quarterback. That's sweet. I actually like this running back group quite a bit. I think Najee, Pollard, and Rojo all have like really high ceilings. Singletary's ceiling is like reasonable. Like we saw it last year, so if something were to happen to James Cook, Singletary could be like a full-on dude again. Tyler Algier, I have absolutely no idea. I think their offensive line is absolutely horrendous, and I think he's too expensive. This time, I just kind of took him because we really didn't have any correlations for Arizona guys. We got CD, Hollywood, Waddle, Burks, Garrett Wilson, Galladay, Pierce, Edwards, and Tylan Wallace. I'm very, very happy with this wide receiver group. These last 2 are both like very like low percentage hits, but at least like the ceilings for these 2 guys, like Tylan Wallace had a just insane college football season his sophomore year. So like this guy does have some like serious upside. I think it's very, very low percentage to hit it because I think Baltimore's going to bring in somebody else. But at least this like there's a reason to think that this guy can smash. Same with Brian Edwards. I mean, absolute demon in college. Things did not work out for him with the Raiders. Maybe he needs an injury to Drake London to hit ceiling this year, but at least there's some reason to think there's a ceiling. So, all in all, I think this team is like pretty awesome. Like, I can't give myself lower than an A- when I have an elite quarterback. This running back group, I think it's like a B plus. Very happy with it. As far as this wide receiver group, I mean, it doesn't have an elite guy, so it's not an A plus. But because I think CV is like a step below that, but definitely an A. And we had Kittle and Fant as our tight ends, and I'm definitely fine with that. Well, that'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching, folks, and good luck in your drafts.